Today, we're going to be looking over potentially the biggest question mark on Nebraska's football team, the running back room. You've heard the concerns. Who's going to be that bell cow running back? Will it be running back by committee? Who's a sleeper in that room? In today's video, I'm going to answer all of those questions, along with giving you my bold takes and predictions about who's going to be our lead running back and guys who potentially will be lower on the depth chart. So really quick, we have a jam-packed episode today. Make sure to smash that like button if you're excited about the upcoming season for Nebraska. I know I am, along with subscribing to the channel. We're on the road to 4,000 subscribers, and I'm posting a video about Nebraska football every single day this summer, talking about the Huskers, Nebraska recruiting, Nebraska rumors, anything related to this program. So if you don't want to miss it, hit that subscribe button. But without further ado, let's jump right into it, talking about Nebraska's running back room. And like I started off with, man, this is a big question mark for Nebraska. As we've learned in the Big Ten, the running game is crucial for success. Last year, it was a struggle for Nebraska. Heinrich Harburger, backup quarterback, actually led the team in rushing yards, and it wasn't close. That cannot happen again. Matt Rhule understands that, and he's looking for a 1,000-yard rusher. So with that being said, let's go to my depth chart predictions. Who is going to be that running back one? And let's just start it off with my main man, the guy I believe will be our running back leader, Emmett Johnson. Now, I've said this over the last couple months. Emmett Johnson is your unquestioned running back one. I don't even think it's a battle at this point. And people keep, commenting, no, Wilson, it's absolutely a battle. Dante Dowdell's in the mix. Gabe Ervin's in the mix. There are three reasons why I believe this is set in stone. Emmett Johnson, he's going to be your man in 2024. Number one, he broke out last year. People forget this. Of any of the returning running backs, he had the most yards, the most touchdowns, and the most carries from last year. And not to mention, he was healthy in the spring compared to Gabe Ervin, who was injured, Rahmir Johnson, who was injured, among some other players. So that's the number one reason. Number two reason is that people sleep on Emmett Johnson's upside. This is a guy who didn't break out until his senior year of high school, where he had 2,500 yards and about 42 touchdowns. Okay. Before that, he was not recruited in the slightest. He's a late bloomer player. We don't know what his potential is. So a lot of people say, oh, there's a 4-star running back who might have a higher potential. No, Emmett Johnson has about as high potential as anybody in the country. And there's the number three reason, and this is the biggest reason why Emmett Johnson will be your starter in 2024. You've got to listen to Matt Rhule. Because time and time in the spring, he would hype up Emmett Johnson when he didn't hype up anybody else. He said that Emmett Johnson was the most improved player time and time again, that he was constantly balling out that running back spot, that he'd have a 50-yard run in practice. He said that Nebraska legend Ahman Greed said that he was the best running back he'd seen in Nebraska uniform in a very long time. And you'd even hear him talk about other running backs, such as Dante Dowdell. He'd say, yeah, Dante, he's just trying to be an every down back. And then he'd go on to say, yeah, Emmett Johnson, he's trying to be, a breakout player, one of the best running backs in the country. I mean, you just see that comparison. Okay, listen to Matt Rhule. Matt Rhule, when you sift through that information, you can get to the heart of the meaning. It was very clear to me through what Matt Rhule was saying, through what Marcus Satterfield was saying, that Emmett Johnson's that guy. But let's talk about Emmett Johnson as a player. Okay, what is he as a running back? What can you expect? First off, man, I just love him as a player. Last year had 400 yards. It started basically the end of the season. And, man, just great acceleration, great quickness, very smart running back. He's waiting for that hole constantly to pop through it. He can make a guy miss. Again, he just does everything well. Really good vision, has a good 40 time at about 4.45. Again, not the fastest guy in the world. He doesn't need to be, but he's just a solid runner, very smart guy. He's good in the pass pro as well, good blocker. That's all that Matt Rhule asked for, and he's a grinder. He's a player that you feel comfortable giving him 15, 20 carries a game. That might just be the most important thing you look for from a Big Ten running back. He has that box checked. The last thing, too, he is not injury prone, unlike a lot of other running backs on this roster for Nebraska. So with that being said, Emmett Johnson's your running back one. Now, running back two is a heavily debated topic, and I'm going to go with Gabe Ervin. So we'll get to Dante Dowdell. Don't worry, and I'll talk over Dante Dowdell and why I have him lower in the depth chart. But here's the thing about Gabe Ervin, and this is the reason why I have him at running back two. When Gabe Ervin has been healthy, he has never been less than running back two. He has always either started or been running back two for the Cornhuskers. Now, with that being said, he hasn't been healthy very much, and that's a given. Every single year of his career, he's been with the Cornhuskers 3 years, going on 4 years now. He has been injured. He had 2 season-ending injuries, and then in 2022, he was just constantly banged up. Okay, he's got to figure that part of his game out. You've got to be healthy the entire season. But when he is healthy, he's just about as good as any running back in the country. He's the smartest running back we have. Like when it comes to just finding that B gap, finding that C gap, being patient, waiting for a hole to appear. Just super smart, really good vision. Again, this guy's a 4-star running back coming out of Buford High School. That's the high school that Dylan Raiola went to. He's the real deal. He had offers everywhere. I think people forget how highly sought after he is. Again, just a fluid runner, do-it-all type of back. He'll lower his shoulder. He'll truck you. Again, he's built as good as any running back in the country. I remember he went viral last offseason because, he was built like a truck. He still is. Gabe Ervin is legit, man. And again, if he's healthy, I find it hard to believe that with the way that Matt Rhule talks about him, that he will be less than running back too, because he's a productive player. It's just all about staying healthy for him. That is the number one concern. So those are my top 2 running backs. Let's get to running back 3, and here is Dante Dowdell. So Dante Dowdell, Nebraska fans love, and they do this every single offseason. There's always one transfer who's kind of a project player, who was a good recruit from high school, and Nebraska fans just fall in love with this recruit. But I need to have a very honest conversation with you guys about Dante Dowdell. Number one, I love Dante Dowdell. I love his upside. I think he's a very talented player. Obviously, he was a 4-star recruit out of high school, coming out of Mississippi. He has a really good ceiling. But with that being said, I think he's overrated, at least in Nebraska circles. Okay, I see him purely as being a goal line threat this year, basically a short yardage running back. Okay, last year for Oregon, he barely played. People will put too much stock into that. They're like, oh, he played, he had 100 yards and played in 5 games. He played in garbage time. He played really in 1 game against an FCS opponent, and that's where he got his touchdown and like 80 of his yards. And then in 4 other games, Dan Lanning, their head coach, was stupid and played him in garbage time against Pac-12 opponents. Okay, he should have not burned his red shirt. Again, he has a very high ceiling, but he's still a project player. And here's what he is as a player. He's not fast, I'll tell you that. He runs a legit 4.6. That's not a good time at all for a running back. He's not very explosive compared to guys like Emmett Johnson, Gabe Ervin. But he doesn't need to be. That's the thing. I'm not trying to, dog on Dante Dowdell because I really like him as a player. We're not asking him to be super quick, but I'm trying to emphasize the fact that he is not where he needs to be just yet. And Matt Rhule would be doing most people a disservice if he started Dante Dowdell over running backs who've done it at a high level before, like Gabe Ervin, like Emmett Johnson. And then just going back to what Matt Rhule said throughout spring, again, it was a completely different tone comparing Emmett Johnson to Dante Dowdell because they're completely 2 different running backs. You have one running back here in Emmett Johnson who has played against Big Ten teams, has been one of the better running backs in the entire conference, and you have Dante Dowdell who's barely played throughout his career. And both of them have very high ceilings, don't get me wrong. And I think Dante Dowdell, throughout the season will get more playing time, but the whole narrative that this guy is going to be our running back 1 going into it, I think is, absurd. And I think it's just kind of lazy. It's a lazy take from Nebraska fans who, aren't giving, a lot of the other running backs in this room enough credit. So again, Dante Dowdell, purely in my opinion, again, he is a goal line threat. He's going to get carries. Hopefully he works his way up the depth chart throughout the year. I could very well see that happen, but again, he's not beating out Gabe Ervin or Emmett Johnson. I cannot see it. I cannot see it happen just because of 2 things. Again, he hasn't produced compared to those 2, and the way that Matt Rhule talks about him compared to the other 2. You got to go back to Matt Rhule. So we'll see what happens in fall ball. But again, I love Dante Dowdell. I don't want this to seem like I'm pessimistic, but I just find it crazy that we have the best running back probably that we've had in a long time in Emmett Johnson, and people don't give him any respect, and they, are hyping up Dante Dowdell all the time. Give Emmett Johnson his respect because he's a stud. All right, let's go to running back 4, and it pains me to put this guy here, but it's Rahmir Johnson. Now, if you follow my channel for a long time, I'm a Rahmir Johnson stan, as some of the younger kids say. It basically means I'm a big Rahmir Johnson fan. I love this guy. It's just another career that's been ruined by injuries. In my opinion, Rahmir Johnson is the best pass pro running back on this team. He's the best blocker. He's the best 3rd down threat. He's the best receiving running back. But it's a very talented room. Again, you have Dante Dowdell, you have Emmett Johnson, you have Rahmir Johnson. So It's a tough room to really break out in. That's why I think Rahmir will be running back 4. I think he's purely going to be a third down running back, right? If you need 10 yards, he's going to be put in the game. We'll see if he goes to a flex spot, right? But Rahmir Johnson, we've seen him play at a high level before, right? When he actually played in 2021, he was one of the better running backs in the Big Ten. He had 700 all-purpose yards. I think people still remember that Michigan game where he just went off. He torched the Wolverines in Lincoln. This guy's a stud, and he's a talented player, and it hurts me to put him here. But hopefully Matt Rhule utilizes him because he's been criminally underused his entire career. In 2020, he was underused. In 2022, Scott Frost just benched him for no reason. And then, in 2023, obviously he got injured. So Rahmir Johnson, man, I love him. He needs to be used, but he used running back 4. 2 other players here I'm going to go over. Quentin Ives, running back 5. Matt Rhule really liked his development in the spring. He said he was very much improved compared to what he was last fall. He's going into his second year with the Huskers, 3-star recruit. He's a bigger back. He's listed at 6'2". He also returned kicks last year for Nebraska, so he could potentially be back there. So another guy who will be in the mix. And the last guy I want to talk about is an interesting case. This is Maurice Mazuka, running back 6 here. There's always one walk-on who gets loved during spring ball. Last year was Alex Bullock. This year it's Maurice Mazuka. This guy I could very well see be a short yardage player, right? You need 2 yards. You're on a third down and short. Maurice Mazuka gets in there, piles through for a couple yards. Like he's a small running back. He's listed at 5'8", but he's very built for his size, about 185 pounds. So again, small in height, big in weight, big in muscle. That's what you look for from these short yardage running backs. So hopefully this walk-on gets some opportunities. Matt Rhule is constantly talking about this spring. I like for him to be that short yardage running back along with Dante Dowdell. So, right, those are some of the players. Now let's just talk about this running back room as a whole. Let's have a conversation. Okay, what can I project from our running backs going into 2024? Now, this is another year of the running back battle. And as much as I love Emmett Johnson and Gabe Ervin and Dante Dowdell, we still do not have a guy in this running back room. What I mean by that is a player who's the unquestioned bell cow, unquestioned number 1. Okay, even though I'm very high on Emmett Johnson, yes, sure, you could make the argument he's not unquestioned. Okay, and he's not one of the better running backs in the country as of right now. We want him to be, but the reason why I say this is in order to be an elite team, specifically in the Big Ten, you need to have an elite running back. We don't have that just yet. We're hoping Dante Dowdell could be that guy. We're hoping Emmett Johnson could be that guy this time next year. But we'll see. So for that reason, I'm going to put this running back room at a C+. Now, I love the depth. I love the depth in this running back room. There are 4 running backs I feel very comfortable being our starter. Very comfortable. But again, you just need that guy. You need that Amir Abdullah. You need that Mike Rozier. You need that just that stud who's that bell cow player for you that Matt Rhule's looking for and is still yet to find. We don't have that right now. So for that reason, I have to give it a C+, but the depth is very good for that reason. And I'm feeling better about this running back room. I think it's going to thrive with year 2 under Matt Rhule. I think that E.J. Barthel is one of the better running back coaches in the country. And our offense, guys, it's going to be a lot improved compared to 2023. And hopefully it can provide a good support for true freshman quarterback Dylan Raiola. So let me know down in the comment section below. What did you agree with? What did you disagree with? I know I'm going to get some Dante Dowdell questions. Again, everybody's a big fan of Dante Dowdell. I am too. Trust me. But I love Emmett Johnson, guys, and I love Gabe Ervin. I think all of those, I think everybody in the running back room, they're very solid. I'd be very comfortable with any of them starting. So let me know that down below in the comment section. And hey, if you made this far in the video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to be going through all the positions over the next couple weeks, giving my hot takes, giving my predictions for what that depth chart is looking like. So you don't want to miss any of that. And as always, folks, go Big Red, go Matt Rhule, and see you in the next one.